On today's show, we're talking about Corey Seager Spice, the championship parade, and some amazing moments to cap off a fantastic season of a lifetime. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 10 seasons, including all 5 as the founder and host of this show. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. The best way you can help grow the show is to hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, and to comment nearly any single thing below. Before we get into the championship parade, the Seager Spice, and everything that was a wonderful day of DFW atmosphere. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Now, yesterday was the Texas Rangers World Series Championship Parade because your Texas Rangers are the reigning World Series champions, at least for another year. And maybe it'll be another 2 years or another 17. And man, it doesn't matter because the Rangers, World Series champs. What a day, what a parade. There was a lot of outside talk, and I don't want to get into that just to start off with because it's just hilarious to me, of other people critiquing a championship parade. Like, that is the most loser energy possible. Like, you lost and you're going to be mad about how the team that beat you celebrates their parade. Hilarious. But although objectively it is kind of funny because it's Arlington and the parade route was around a bunch of empty parking lots. Well, not empty. They were very full parking lots and sports stadiums, because that's kind of most of what Arlington is parking lots and sports stadiums. But that also made it a lot easier for a lot of people to get there. And there were so many people there. I mean, I walked a good chunk all over, I thought, most of the parade route, and I kind of felt overwhelmed by how many people were there. And it turns out I didn't see even like 10% of the amount of people there. There was a great, I believe it was a helicopter or a drone shot from Fox 4 of showing just the enormity of the turnout. Like, something close to either 500,000 or 700,000 people were there, and it, by God, did it feel like it. I mean, I felt like I was getting there pretty early. I woke up at 7, which is way earlier than I normally do. I got over there by about 8-ish, 8:30, and it wasn't too crazy at that point. It was pretty good. I got to meet up with some friends. Shout out to Rachel and Lisa and Meech, people who I've known for years, and 2 of the 3 I never met in person before. I mean, these people who I've followed online for like 7, 8, maybe close to 10 years. It's been a long time. And I met up with some other friends. Shout out to Stack and Lindsay and Michael and Alex and Elle, and especially Lindsay for this nice little decoration. I don't think you can read it, but it does say World Series champs here on this little friendship bracelet, which was just the best. Like, very, very sweet thought of Lindsay giving those out, and just meeting up with friends, some of whom I've known for under a year, just a few months or a couple years or 8 years. That was the main reason that I honestly went, is to meet these people who have been, a huge part of, enjoying these games, enjoying these playoff runs, and talking about where we were when we were watching the games and how we were watching it and how we were all basically the same nervous wreck of a person. Like, oh, I had to, wear my exact specific type of thing, or, oh, this person's, Rachel was telling me about a friend whose cat was watching games, and like a casual friend, a casual Rangers fan, was just like, oh yeah, no, look, here's a pic of my cat watching the game. And then the next day the Rangers lost and the cat was not watching the game. And so just like making sure that the cat was in his spot watching the game, and all of us having our own little things, like, oh, my dog wasn't in the right spot on the couch, so I had to move my dog and make sure that it sat. Like, it's just, we're all the same people. We all enjoyed it the same way. And that really realization of like just the community aspect of it. I mean, that's why sports are the best. That's why I do this. That's why I love this so much, is because of those relationships with those people. I talked about it with Grant on the show Thursday night, about like that that's why we do this. That's why we love these sports so much. And like, it was kind of fun to see all the people that all the players and the coaches and the field staff and the high school bands and the whoever else was was there in the actual parade. That was cool. But honestly, by the time that I had met up with all of the friends that I could and was trying to meet up with so many more, but when there's 500,000 to 700,000 people all in one space, all hope of texting and DMing with mutuals to try and find them in the massive hordes of people. I've found out there were so many other people who were there that I'm like, oh, I would have loved to have seen them. And I even met up with just randomly was pointed out by a listener of the show who just recognized me and said hi. It was nice to meet them as well. I'm sure there were plenty of other of you that I would have loved to have met as well, or I'd love to have met as well. But like it was chaos. So you kind of went with who you could find at the time. And so yeah, that's kind of what I did. And it was honestly great. Just, catching up with these people, making Twitter friends into in real life friends. That's the best part of all this for me. It really was. Honestly, by the time like 11 o'clock rolled around and I had met the people, I was like, can I go home now? I don't really need to see them go and do all of this. I ended up leaving right after the parade was done. I didn't really realize that there was a whole, part to the stage. That's where everyone was going to, stay and make their speeches. But even if I was ready for that, I was just like, it was such an exhausting day getting there at like 8:30 and having like nothing to eat and, didn't bring any snacks or water, did not think out very far in advance. This was all of our first championship parade, so there was definitely aspects that could have been done better. Like the pacing of it, we were towards the end of the parade route by the old stadium, which was great, just being by the old stadium, and I appreciate them for opening the gates to that stadium for some bathrooms, which was very necessary for all those hours that so many people spent there. But it was just such a great experience, and getting to see the friends and the players and how happy all of them were. Like that's something that'll stick with me. I mean, normally championship parade, just like parades in general, I don't love parades. I don't like them. Usually to me they're pointless nonsense. Like, call me a grumpy old man. But for the most part, especially on the 4th of July, I don't go to 4th of July parades. I'm like, okay, here's some people on a car waving flags, and maybe they'll throw stuff at you that you'll get to get. But for a championship parade for your favorite team, where all your friends are going, you make the exception. I mean, more of my baseball heaven is a sparsely populated minor league baseball game with some obscure prospect that I want to get a first look at, and a couple of scouts or writer friends who I know, and other friends who I just run into randomly. That's my baseball nirvana. But this was also pretty close. It was pretty nice. Not going to lie. I hope they do it again. I hope they do it again next year and the year after that. And if I didn't see it this one, then maybe I'll see it next year's or the year after that or the year after that, because these Rangers are set up for some great things for the future. Honestly, it's going to be a while before I even think about that. I am going to talk a little bit about Mitch Garver in the third segment and his qualifying offer decision, because that I realized is Monday when they have to decide on that. But other than that and other free agent talk, I don't, not that I don't care, but like at this point, I'm still basking in post-championship glory, and I probably will be for another like 3 weeks, because the Texas Rangers won the World Series, and that was the greatest thing to ever happen to anyone, and I'm going to revel in it for as long as I can, as long as it feels magical, which is probably going to be forever. Eventually, I will talk about other things besides the Texas Rangers winning the World Series, but for the next few weeks, it's going to be a lot of reveling in this amazing, wonderful season. There were a lot of great moments from that championship parade, but maybe the greatest was Corey Seager actually saying something spicy, maybe for the first time in his entire life. We're going to talk about what that was and why it was absolutely delightful right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. Even though the World Series champion Texas Rangers season is done, there are other plenty of other teams in the Dallas area, or whatever area you choose to root for. Whether you're rooting for Mavs and wanting to put your money where your mouth is there on Luka to be an MVP, I believe he is still the odds-on favorite. I mean, you can bet on the Dallas Stars, the Dallas Cowboys, whatever you're looking for. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday's show, I'll be back and breaking down even more about this amazing Texas Rangers World Series run. Now, we got some spiciness from Corey Seager at the parade, a guy who is just not, I don't want to say not loquacious, not verbose, but just does not like public speaking. I don't know if he doesn't like it. He just doesn't. He doesn't say spicy things. He says very bland things, and he hits baseballs very good, and he catches baseballs very good, and he won the Texas Rangers freaking championship, and I'll love him forever for that, and nothing will ever take that away from him and his love that he will receive from the Texas Rangers fan base in perpetuity. But he could have said nothing at this parade. Like, he could have said absolutely nothing. He could have just shown up and waved, and maybe brought his adorable dog, and just smiled and said, hey, here's a World Series. That was pretty fun. Let's do it again. I really like that. And that would have been more than enough. But Corey Seager, a man many times jilted by those stinking Houston Astros, saw that video from Alex Bregman after Game 162, where the Astros won the AL West. And I think they celebrated a little bit too hard and a little bit prematurely. Because Alex Bregman, in his comments, said, oh, everybody was wondering about what it would be like if the Astros didn't win the AL West. I guess we'll never know. And that seemed to stick in the craw of one Corey Seager, reigning World Series MVP. Two-time World Series MVP, that is. And he remembered that. And on his final words of the championship speech, he said, everybody was wondering what it was like, what it would be like if the Rangers didn't win the World Series. And his teammates started to realize what he was about to say and lost their minds. And he finished with, I guess we'll never know. And the crowd and his teammates and everybody lost their freaking minds. You could just go and watch the video of it and go watch the individual reactions from everybody. And they're all perfect. Absolutely perfect. El Bombe halfway through it, raising his hands in the air like, oh my God, my boy is about to do it. My boy is about to say something spicy. My boy is going off on the hated rivals. Chuck Morgan's face just lighting up, beaming. Jonah Heim, eyebrows raised, face aghast of, did Corey Seager just say that? To people? In front of people? A spicy comment? I love it so much. I love it. It's the one thing that he hadn't done. Not that he had anything else to prove, anything left to win over any Rangers fan ever as the greatest signing in the history of free agency in any sport ever. Like, him doing it's such a perfect cherry on top of the beautiful Sunday that is Corey Seager's first 2 years with the Texas Rangers franchise. He didn't have to do that, but he did that for us. For all of us Rangers fans who have one too many annoying Astros fans in our life. He did that for us. And bless him for it. God bless him for it. Other people chirp about how, oh, this isn't that spicy. For Corey Seager, the level of spiciness here would kill a mere mortal. It's like the highest level of spice at like whatever kind of food has the spiciest food. Like, it is something that would kill white people. Like that's the level of spice for Corey Seager. A Corey Seager adjusted level spice. Put that in StatCast, the level of spiciness, because that would break the StatCast charts, just like when he hits the ball. That breaks StatCast charts because he's so incredibly good at that. But for him to do that in that moment is just, man, it's why I love this team. It's why I love this run. It is such an unexpected, joyous moment that just adds to the experience of a wonderful thrilling day. Seeing all those guys up there with their families, from the baseball operations people to the field staff to the everybody, to the Grant Andersons, to the Matt Bushes. Like, it's just getting to see all of their joy and experience that was amazing. And it was funny, there was a guy close to me in the parade who was wearing a Pittsburgh Pirates hat, and I was like, why is this guy wearing a Pittsburgh Pirates hat? And he had a sign, very, very bland, very basic sign that just said Austin Hedges. And I was like, oh, this guy is literally just here for Austin Hedges. That's absolutely incredible. And it's every car drove by with Rangers players on it. They would smile and point to that sign and just start laughing. They're just like, yes, that's amazing. There's a guy here just for Austin Hedges. And it felt like almost every player looked over there. I mean, we even got Josh Young. I gave him a nice little guns up from a Red Raider boy, and he gave one back, which was very sweet of him. I'm sure he remembered the one time we met a year ago. I was like, oh yeah, that's Bryce. I totally remember him. Best friend. No. But that was very sweet anyway. But the one guy who didn't look over at the Austin Hedges sign was, of course, Austin Hedges. He was not looking this way. He missed the sign. The guy who was here in a Pirates cap for him with an Austin Hedges sign. Austin Hedges did not see it. I hope everyone told him, about that man with the Pirates hat and the Austin Hedges sign. That might be my favorite person at that whole parade. I mean, there were so many people there. 700,000. I think that might be my favorite. It's just absolutely perfect seeing that. And Nathaniel Lowe showing all this personality. Remember when some idiot podcaster named Bryce Patrick said, oh, this team doesn't have personality? Well, they do. They just waited to show us until the championship parade. And you know what? If they want to wait until next year's championship parade to show raw emotion and how much of weirdos they are again, that's totally fine by me. Nathaniel Lowe, the turtleneck wearing, puppy hoisting, beer chugging, until he's shirtless king. My guy knows how to let loose and have fun. I mean, bringing his dog with him on the parade route is amazing. And his wife hoisting the dog up like Simba. It's just an absolutely beautiful moment, of so many beautiful moments from this championship parade for your 2023 World Series champion, Texas Rangers. Don't let anybody forget it, ever. I know I'm not going to, even though it felt like it was an absolute dream. But Eric Nadel told us that we were not dreaming. Coming up, we're going to talk about a great story by a friend of the show, friend of mine, Levi Weaver, about Eric Nadel's call and some other moments that made me extremely emotional about this team, and a little bit of talk about transactions and a franchise tag for one Mitch Garver. Right after this word from our sponsors. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Tuesday's show, I'll be back talking about whatever the fallout is from the decision to send a qualifying offer to Mitch Garver or to not do it. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day whenever you're listening to this, whether it's on Saturday or Sunday or Monday or whenever down the line. Always appreciate the listeners. But this was a piece written by Levi Weaver, a dear, dear friend of The Athletic, who I did not get to see at the championship parade. I'm sure he was off doing journalism and not celebrating like a madman like I was, which is fine, very fine, because on the day that the Rangers clinched the World Series, which they did, they won a World Series, don't you ever forget it, Levi was writing a story about one Eric Nadel, hero of the Texas Rangers, the voice of the Texas Rangers, the soundtrack to Texas Summers. And it was a beautiful article. It might be my favorite thing that Levi's ever written. And Levi's had a lot of my favorite things that he's ever written. There've been a lot of good stuff from him. But this one, it really took the cake. He had breakfast with Eric Nadel and talked about legacy and about what winning would mean, and talked to so many people around the organization. I mean, the list of people who I'm happier for than Eric Nadel is that the Rangers won is probably zero. I don't think there's anybody that I'm happier for than Eric Nadel, who has been with this team for forever. Maybe Tom Grieve, who I'll get to in just a second. Maybe Chuck Morgan, maybe Jamie Newberg. I don't know, but I think that Eric Nadel is way up there on that list, and talking about the leave of absence that he took for this season until August, and the impact that he's had on other broadcasters, on other media people, on other, the GM, Chris Young, talking about how, listening to Eric Nadel, like the lullaby of Eric Nadel as he was a kid, because he is a local boy. Sometimes I forget that because it's not drubbed over our heads, the fact that he grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area like it is with Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw, who were high school teammates, in case you forgot. Just so you know. Chris Young, I believe, pretty darn sure he also went to Highland Park, but I don't think he was teammates with either of those guys. He could have been. I can't remember the timeline. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but just hearing from Nadel about the relief and seeing the video of him just jumping up out of his chair, raising his hands to the heavens, and exclaiming that it's over. Chills. Absolute chills. Tears nearly every single time, nearly welling up just thinking about it. And then when he falls back into his chair after saying the celebration has begun, you could just see the catharsis. You could see the demons leaving his body, the exorcised demons. They're gone. All of those heartbreaks, all of those near misses, all of those times when we all thought that this was going to be the time, and it wasn't. They're all gone now. And thinking of the people who I'm happier for than myself, which I am very happy for myself, honestly. It was, I'm very happy for me. I really enjoyed it. I made the most of enjoying it, as I hope all of you did. I'm happy for literally, not to steal Chris Fitz's tweet of I'm happy for literally every single person who has cheered for the Texas Rangers, because I am. I echo those sentiments deeply. I'm also happy for Fitz as well, who has also long suffered some demons. But I mean, I hopped on the bandwagon in 2010, and there were some painful experiences for me in the World Series of 2010 and 2011. And, I don't have to list all the heartbreaks that have happened since then. There have been quite a few. But for Nadel, who has seen nearly them all, and for Tom Grieve, who has really, literally seen them all, I'm really happy for both of those guys. And for Nadel, for being as vocal a proponent for mental health and destigmatizing dealing with mental health struggles and treating them like real issues, because they are. I mean, I don't know how many people he's helped with that. He's helped me tremendously, because that's something that I struggled with earlier this year. It was a very difficult year for me personally, and seeing someone like Eric Nadel have the courage and vulnerability to talk about it has kind of given me some of that courage to be open and honest and talk about it, and kind of help to destigmatize issues with mental health. It's an important thing, and that's something that I respect and love Eric Nadel for so much more than any call could ever do, is what he's done there. And that's why I'm so incredibly happy for him. And for Tom Grieve, like I said, a guy who has been here for all of it, seeing the piece he did and the words he said on Bally, talking about, the years of this franchise. I mean, he is synonymous with the Rangers. And it kind of sucks that this is the first year that he wasn't on the TV broadcast, but he was still around. He was still getting to enjoy it. He still gets to be here for the parade, which is great. And if he doesn't get a ring, then we riot. But we can hold off on the rioting for now. But just getting to see him, and having him talk about all the fans and people that he's met over the years and how much they meant to him was just really, really special, and also got me very teary-eyed. It was just amazing. But there is one thing that made me laugh incredibly hard that I didn't see happening right after the World Series until today, where the Cespedes Barbecue Boys talked about it on their show of Evan Carter immediately after winning the World Series saying, "This was fun, but job's not done. We're going to win some more." Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. My sweet summer child who's never been hurt before, who's been in the majors for all of 5 minutes, is like, let's go do it again. Let's just go do it again. Of him not understanding the amount of sheer catharsis from this entire fan base, this entire organization, of how much this one meant, and him having that mentality of job's not done. Like, I love that for him. I really do. And I think it's why he's going to be a great player. And I hope he never understands. Like, he's not held back by those demons. None of these players are. I mean, you ask them about the 2011 and whatever, they're like, oh, I'm happy for the fans, but like, yeah, that's not me. And I'm glad that it's not them. I think it's what let them do that. Because if they had those same demons that we had, then maybe when they went up 3-1, they would start thinking about, oh no, what if we're going to do it again? What if we're going to do it? Because they'd never done it. They had never suffered one of those things. I mean, they suffered in Game 5, but they came back in Game 6 and 7 against the Astros and said, you know what, that heartbreaking loss sucked, but it's one game. We'll bounce back as long as we can. And if we don't, then we'll get them next year. And they got them this year. And I love that for them. It was absolutely, absolutely delightful that sweet baby child was like, nah, let's do it again. What an amazing kid. What an amazing World Series championship parade. I mean, the pacing of it was a hot mess. I mean, it felt like it went on forever, and there were so many long stretches, at least where we were, where we just like weren't seeing any cars. It was like, okay, did everyone get the memo this parade is still happening and it's still going on? I mean, I didn't get home until like around 5, and it was finally when I had something to eat for basically the first time all day. Traffic was a nightmare getting out, but you know what? Who cares? Who cares about any of it? Oh, the parade route wasn't ideal? Who cares? The Texas Rangers had a parade, had a championship, had a moment, had a season. And they are off the list of teams that have never, ever won it. They will never be back there. They will always have this. And it feels like I feel invincible. I feel like nothing is ever going to bother me again in the way that the Rangers not winning a championship had bothered me very deeply, at least in sports. But maybe some other things will bother me later on. I'm sure there will be bad things that maybe happen eventually down the road. Not now, because the Texas Rangers are reigning World Series champs, and just did that like 2 days ago. So I'm going to ride that high for a long, long time of not letting anything get to me. But something I talked about with Sully when I hopped on his show the night that they did it, of him bestowing some wisdom upon me of the next time the Rangers biff it or any of your teams biffs it, which I experienced with the Mavericks losing last night. And you'll just be like, oh, I really wanted to win that one. But it's not, it's starting at 0 as opposed to cascading of every time that the Rangers didn't do it, this is going to be another time. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing about the Texas Rangers winning the World Series in 2023. Now, for just a quick second, I do want to talk about Mitch Garver and getting the qualifying offer. It's about $20 million 1 year, and if he does accept it, then that is a lot of money to pay for a guy who has been a DH and have health issues, and he's going to be 33 next year. But, I mean, you freaking do it. You absolutely freaking do it. And I think he made himself a lot of money in this playoff run and down this stretch run of showing how good he is. I still cannot believe at all that the Texas Rangers got Mitch Garver, a guy who had won a Silver Slugger at catcher and deserved it. They got him for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Ronnie Enriquez. That's just nuts to me. It was always nuts to me. It will always be nuts to me that the Rangers could do that. But I think you do it. I think if he takes it, then great. You bring back the only piece that was leaving from a key cog, I should say. Well, no, Robbie Grossman was an important part, but I'm pretty sure he's going to go sign somewhere else next year, and that's fine. And he got a ring, and he helped. And we no longer have to worry about the lineup construction of Robbie Grossman hitting third. But even with whoever's coming next year in Wyatt Langford, whenever that happens, I mean, having that cover of injury cover of Mitch Garver, of how important he was in August when the Rangers thought Jonah Heim was going to be done for the season. The fact that they could just plug in Mitch Garver there, absolutely incredible. I think Hedges is going to be back too, and Mitch Garver is going to be more of a DH type of guy if he does come back to the Rangers on that qualifying offer. But I also think that somebody else is going to offer him a lot of money in multiple years, even with the risks because of how high the rewards could be. And then the Rangers will get a qualifying pick, a compensatory pick, and that's great. And maybe they'll sign a free agent and lose a first-round pick next year. That'll be the 30th pick. because the Rangers won the World Series, so they're not picking first or second or fourth next year. I don't think they're going to luck into another Wyatt Langford at 30 next year. I think their luck on that ran out, which is fine, because getting one Wyatt Langford at 4 was pretty special, and an Evan Carter in the second round in 2020 was also pretty special, and getting a Jack Leiter and a Kumar Rocker and a Brock Porter in the 4th round because you made the money work. I think those are smart decisions. But even if they're not, even if they don't work out, if none of them work out, which seems unlikely because Evan Carter's already definitely working out. But even if they don't and everyone falls off a cliff, who cares? The Rangers got theirs. They won it all. And nothing can ever, ever, ever hurt us again. No championship parade critiques. No critiques of Corey Seager's level of spice. No Alex Bregman speeches after celebrating too early can ever get to us ever again. Because the Texas Rangers are, as this little friendship bracelet says, World Series champs. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing and supporting the show, and for all the nice messages in the last couple of days that I've been trying to read as much as I can, all the comments and everything. Honestly, like it makes me so happy to be a part of your Rangers fandom experience, to help make being a Rangers fan a little bit more enjoyable, to have someone to listen to my rantings and ravings, and some of my hot takes that are incredibly correct and some of them that are incredibly dumb and silly. That look very dumb in hindsight. For all of that, to be able to provide that to you and enjoy this with you. This is all for you guys. Thank y'all so much. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers offseason.